Hey guys, today's video is on how to fall properly in downhill skateboarding. Now, I know it's something that seems counterintuitive to learn, but it's key if you want to use your protective gear correctly and come out of falls unscathed. You're going to be falling a lot, so I think it's something that's really important to learn. Finally, this guide is part of a bigger downhill skill progression guide, or rather downhill skill tree guide. And check out the guide if you want to learn more about which skills you should be learning at which point in your downhill career and all that good stuff. I've also created a playlist which I'll link in the description, and it just links to all the videos I've created in relation to the downhill skill tree or progression thing. Okay, so at this stage of skating, what gear do you need? You need a helmet and slide gloves at minimum. Knee pads will also be clutch. Hip pads and elbow pads will be valuable additions as well. And of course, you're going to need a board. Now, the first type of fall is the push-up catch or the Superman catch. I don't know. I don't really know what it's called. It's just basically when you fall forward and catch yourself on your slide gloves, or rather your hands and your toes. And after catching yourself, you ride out the fall on your shoes and your slide gloves. Unfortunately, this also wears your shoes out quite a bit, but if you have skateboard specific shoes, they can usually take the beating. So yeah, they usually have more durable uppers and soles, so they can handle this pretty okay. You might have difficulty with this type of fall if you don't have slide gloves and if you don't have any upper body strength. You need a little bit of upper body strength in order to sort of hold yourself up in that push-up position. Otherwise, you might be lower to the ground, or you might not be able to lift up the rest of your body out of harm's way. Okay, so the second type of fall is sort of like a knee slide ride out that you do on your knee pads and shoes. And you can also slide it out on your slide gloves, knee pads, and shoes. So this is the most sustainable way to fall, in my opinion. Yes, you'll wear out your pads and maybe your shoes, but the rest of your body will be relatively unharmed and you'll be able to comfortably fall again and again. You'll pretty much walk away injury-free if you do this correctly. However, because your knee pads glide across the ground and don't slow you down all that much, if you're going really fast and you fall, you might slide into a stationary object if you're not careful, but that's not that much of an issue to worry about unless you're skating like 30, 40 miles per hour. But yeah, out of all the slides, I think this is the one that feels the most unnatural. You might have to have quite a bit of trial and error before getting a right feel for it when you actually fall. Also, with this type of fall, remember to have your knee pads on tightly. I've had my knee pads slide off my knee once or twice because they were just a little bit loose, and yeah, the results weren't very nice. It's kind of sad, you buy knee pads and then you don't actually use them. Okay, so the next type of fall is when you fall on your bum and ride out the speed. So you basically fall on your bum and slide along with your slide gloves at your side. And yeah, yes, it does hurt to fall on your bum, especially if you fall from a height. And this is also why hip pads are so useful as well. And yeah, if you wear through your pants, you are going to get road rash, which is why I've also suggested in the past that you have tough jeans, or if you're savvy, you might sew in leather to the butt area of your pants. And yeah, you'll be able to do this again and again without really wearing through your pants. But yeah, it's not a recommended way to fall, but it's a way to fall and come to a stop in a relatively controlled way, and it's a way that most of you are going to be falling, whether you like it or not. So yeah, I've decided to count it. The reason I recommended hip pads and elbow pads and knee pads as well is because falling can be unpredictable sometimes. You're not always going to land the way you like or the best way to, go on to some of the recommended ways that I've been suggesting. So yeah, you might fall on your hip, you might fall on your elbow, you might fall unexpectedly, or other times you fall so quickly you don't really have time to react and do the correct thing. It's unexpected. So that's why I highly recommend you have hip pads, because you're going to be falling on your hips a lot, like a ton. And you have elbow pads as well. They're not super necessary, but when you're skating fast or when you fall suddenly, you don't really react that quickly, and sometimes you can get little nicks on your elbow, which has happened to me quite a bit. But yeah, I think the ways I've suggested are going to be your go-tos 50 to 75% of the time, but there's always going to be that 20 to 30% of unpredictability. And yeah, so yeah, how do you practice these falls without actually falling? The easiest way is to simply get into these positions when you're stationary and just take note of how it feels and maybe what different parts of your body are doing. And of course, when you actually do fall and when you actually do have to use your pads and all that good stuff, it's going to be a different experience. I think what people are going to find weird is where the weight is supposed to go. Now, I think it'll be different between people and where they prefer to focus the weight, whether you want to have more of your weight on your hands, more of your weight on your knee pads or your shoes. It boils down to personal preference. But this is something you're going to have to get to grips with, and you're going to have to have real world experience in order to sort of fine tune it. And yeah, there's going to be a bit of trial and error, and it's important you practice it, because yeah, yeah, it's important you practice it so that when it does happen, kind of know what to default to or go to. Okay, when should you move on from practicing these things? So after getting an idea of what you should do when you bail, or what techniques to use for a given situation, or what it feels like, you can basically move on and try get real world experience. As well, you're going to have plenty of time to practice these when you're learning to slide and learning to ride. So finally, I want to close off with pads are important because, well, the obvious reason is that they stop you from getting hurt. The less obvious reason is that, yes, they stop you from getting hurt, but they also allow you to get up from a fall and do it again. If you have to take breaks because you've gotten injured from a fall or because you're very sore, your progression as a rider is going to be pretty slow, if I'm honest. Pads allow you to also ride pretty confidently and take risks. And sometimes you need to take risks in order to learn a technique or to learn something new or to get better as a rider. Pads allow you to do that, giving you that room for failing safely so you can confidently go for it and get back up and try again. So yeah, get pads, really important. And yeah, was this guide useful? Let me know what you guys think. I know maybe the one or two types of falls that I've missed out on. I'd be really happy if you guys commented, and it would add a lot of value to the video. But yeah, this video is part of the bigger downhill skill tree guide, and I recommend you check that out if you want to see what you should be learning next. Big thanks to my patrons and big thanks to the subscribers. We're almost at 3,000 subs, which is really, really cool. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, all that good stuff. And yeah, you all take care.